Hello, I'm Venus with Galaxy Inc. And for this week's writing tips, we are on number 5 of the Elements of Writing series that I've been working on. And this week we're going to be talking about style, voice, and tone. And the reason we're going to be talking about these 3 together is because people get them very confused. And they're actually pretty simple concepts, so I don't want to spend a whole video on each one, but I want to make sure that we understand the 3 and why they're distinctive and different. So we're going to start with style. And basically style is the mechanical or technical aspects of writing, and it's specific to the type of writing that you're doing. So there are 4 types, basically, of writing styles. The first one's exposition. If you've ever taken expository writing in college, usually it's like writing 101, kind of setting you up for how you're going to have to write while you're in college for papers and things. Expository writing is, under the umbrella of that, is textbooks, how-to articles, recipes, news stories, business, technical or scientific, articles, things like that. Then you've got descriptive writing, which is poetry, journals, descriptions of nature, novels, plays. Okay, and descriptive writing can also be narrative sometimes, but we'll get to that in a moment. Persuasive writing, you've got cover letters, op-eds, opinion pieces, reviews, letters of complaint, advertisements, letters of recommendation. I'd also say blog posts sometimes, when we're trying to persuade people to, believe something or to, give out information. And then narrative, which is like oral histories, novels, epic sagas, short stories, or anecdotes and poetry. So basically, this is very simple. If you're writing an academic book, it's expected that you're going to write in a certain style. You're going to write in an academic style. You're going to have, you're going to be using maybe the Chicago Manual style as your citing guide, and then you're going to write in this way that your professors would expect from you. If, let's say, you're writing a dissertation or you're writing a scientific article, you would be expected to write a certain way. And if you wrote your scientific journal article in the style of like an anecdotal story, it'd be very odd. Your readers would be like, what is going on? I thought I was reading a scientific article. And it'd probably have a hard time selling that particular article because it's not within the style that is expected for that particular thing. I think we sometimes cross the line these days with news and news stories. Instead of being expository and just presenting information, a lot of times it becomes persuasive and basically opinion pieces. And so that's a line that's very kind of soft. But I actually prefer my news stories to be news and my opinion pieces to be opinion pieces, and for them to be separate for sure. Then we have voice. And eventually every author is going to develop their own voice, okay? And your voice in the story is unique to you because you are a unique person. You think a certain way and you're going to write a certain way, and you're going to think about how to get information out on the page in a way that nobody else is because they're not you, okay? So it's basically your voice becomes your thumbprint for your story. A Dickens novel always reads like a Dickens novel because he wrote a certain way. J.K. Rowling writes a certain way, right? And even though that can evolve over time, there's still kind of this distinctive thumbprint that's there. So J.K. Rowling, you can read her first Harry Potter book, the first chapter, and then read the book number 7 in the first chapter, and you will see kind of the evolution of her writing and how it's become better over time. But to give a really good example of how distinctive her writing is, she came out with a book in 2013 called A Cuckoo's Calling. It's a mystery book, and she released it under a pseudonym or a nom de plume. And she didn't want anybody to know that it was by her. But people, after reading the book, were like, how is this debut writer? And there's like this kind of fake bio that was there about the guy, Galbraith, I think is what she published under. And they're like, no way. And so they started digging. People started digging. They couldn't figure out who this author was. And so there was a text analysis that was done where they loaded thousands of books into a computer, and the computer analyzed them and then determined that this book was written by J.K. Rowling. And J.K. Rowling did come out and say, yes, she did. There was some other, circumstances around there. But The computer accurately determined that it was her book based off of her writing styles. Her voice came through the story. And then we have tone, right? And tone is an author's use of syntax, diction, imagery, details, figurative language. And I know that with voice, some of that is in there, the word choices and things like that. But with tone, an author is using words to convey emotions and feelings. And then they keep that going throughout the book. So the attitude is conveyed in writing, and it can encompass formality, objectivity, intimacy, other similar aspects, atmosphere, mood. So do you want your story to feel, if you're writing a romance, do you want it to feel like you're dimming the lights for a dinner? Are you going to kind of write in this kind of almost sultry style, or do you want a bright spotlight on your main character, and so that's going to feel like this, right? Jazz hands. That is important to create this kind of tone throughout the book, and to determine what it is you're writing. Are you writing something that's satirical? Are you writing something that is going to be funny throughout? And if it is, it needs to be in the first page, and it needs to be at the end of the book as well. You need to make sure that you're kind of doing it throughout the book. I see this happen a lot with new writers, where what happens is there's a shift, right? Something bad happens in the story, and the book goes from funny to not funny at all. And for the rest of the book, there's no humor. And I'm like, hey, you set this tone. You created this kind of comical, kind of satirical thing at the beginning. What happened? Why did we shift to really dark? Where is the humor? There can be dark humor, but there needs to be something, because you just completely flipped the script on me. So we have this tone that we want throughout. So that's basically it. Style is the type of writing that you're doing and the expectations around that type of writing. And then voice is our distinctive, thing that we do with our words and our word choices based purely on us being unique individuals as we write. And then tone is the consistent writing or tone that you created throughout your story. And I hope that kind of clears it up a little bit, so that maybe you're not as confused as you're going forward. And, if an editor says to you, hey, the tone isn't very consistent after chapter 5, you know what that means now. Don't forget to press like and subscribe to my channel. I post new writing tips almost every Friday. If you think you're interested in hiring an editor, you can check me out at galaxy-inc.com. I've been Venus with Galaxy Inc. I hope your writing is out of this world.